Anything from last week what we heard?
Prabhuji, I wanted to say,
Yes.
everything belongs to Krishna, nobody to claim proprietorship.
Okay.
And that is called Yukta Vairagya.
Okay. Yes.
And then engage that you have in service for Krishna. Whatever you have with you, for Krishna, then it's good. And factually, nothing belongs to you.
Okay. Any other points?
Transcendental activity does not generate reaction.
Okay.
Service is better.
Okay.
That's all from my side.
Yes. Anything else? Anyone?
So spoke about practical devotional for service. We said is better than renunciation.
Yes. How is it better?
That is, doing devotional service is more better because there will be no reaction. There will be no reaction.
Okay. That's up till the fourth shloka. I think we did the fifth one also. The fifth one starts into a different topic of Sanki Yoga. So, how is devotional service in Sanki Yoga? Are they the same? Are they different? What are the results? Anyone?
We said if you do devotional service, it's far more easier. Get you while cultivating, it's the purpose of life. It will get you directly to Vasudeva.
Okay. What is Sanki Yoga? We've discussed this a few times. Anybody? Take a guess. What is Sanki Yoga?
Saurav here.
Yes, Saurav.
Yeah, I've just joined your group. Thank you so much for allowing me.
Hare Krishna, Saurav. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So what I have understood Sankhya Yoga is that the one who few offered to God and majority of it keep it with oneself. So that is called Sankhya Yoga.
Okay.
And
or what to God? Sorry, come again. What do you offer to God?
I mean, the benefits, whatever he is reaping the benefits, only few of those are offered to God, and the majority of it keep it with oneself.
Is that not Sakam Karma Yoga or something?
Yeah, Sakam Karma Yoga. Okay. So I got confused.
Yeah, and there's no mention of what portion they keep it in. But in any case, that is falling in the category of Sakam Karma. I'm talking about Sankhya Yoga.
Okay.
In fact, Krishna is describing
yoga is, you said, is some it's knowledge, right? Gyan.
Okay, what knowledge?
Knowledge which Lord Krishna gives to Arjuna.
That is all the yogas, not just Sankhya Yoga.
Okay.
So, what does the word Sankhya suggest?
Is it related to Prakriti and Purusha, Sankhya Yoga?
It is, yes, they are part of it. What does the word Sankhya, general word Sankhya, indicates? Anyone? What does Sankhya mean?
Is it when we spoke last time about hate and attachment, two sides of the same coin? Is that?
No, that's not. Wow.
Analytical study.
Anyone who, sorry, yes, Mataji?
Analytical study.
Yes, analytical study. So, what does Sankhya? Sankhya comes from Sankhya, right? What does Sankhya mean?
Numbers.
Numbers, yes. Who said that?
I also said and somebody else also said.
Okay. Yeah. So numbers, which means counting. Sankhya means Sankhya Yoga means to count or to understand, break down the whatever people are observing. It's more based on trying to observe, and so breaking down, everything around us into the most smallest elements. Like, so there are 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, 5 sense objects. There is the mind, intelligence, and ego. So separating each and everything, understanding that how one is separate from the other, like that. So understanding analytically the entire material creation, and thereby coming to a conclusion that we are not this body but the soul, and also understanding that there is one more factor called Paramatma, right? So reaching to this conclusion through analytical study is called Sankhya Yoga. And once you reach that conclusion, last time we discussed, once you understand that yes, there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am the servant, I am part and parcel. What is my duty? To serve, right? So the Sankhya Yoga, or the study of analytical study, will take you to a point of understanding that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead who is everywhere as Paramatma, and you are part and parcel of Him, and this entire creation is existing because of it. And then you surrender. Then you start serving. That's devotional service. So that's the way in which Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga are also kind of or Nishkam Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness, is also similar. Or Krishna is saying that they lead to the same path. Why? Because the end result is the person starts serving once he understands through Sankhya Yoga. And this Sankhya philosophy was actually given by the original Rishabdev. There was an imposter Rishabdev also who gave another Sankhya philosophy, which is atheistic, right? But the original Rishabdev, who's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he gave the original Sankhya philosophy. Okay, so let's move ahead from there. So that was 5.5, where Krishna says, one who knows that the position reached by the means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are, right? So devotional service is a faster process, of course, but the position reached at the end of the day is serving the Lord, right? So devotional service is directly engaging in service of the Lord. That was 5.5. So let's read 5.6. Sanyasastu mahabaho.
Astu mahabhaho
Dukkam aptum ayogata.
dukkam aptum ayogata
Yoga yukto brahma.
yoga yukto muni brahma
Na chirinadi gacchati.
nachinadi gacchati.
Someone can read the translation, please.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
Yes. So merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So before getting into the purport, I think just a quick example, and I've given this example multiple times. So there's a child who's actually creating a lot of nuisance, and the mother comes and says, "Hey, what are you doing? Keep quiet. Don't yell, right? Don't throw things here and there. Stand in a corner." As a punishment, she says, "Stand in a corner and finger on your," right? And the boy does that, and the mother leaves. And after 2 hours, she comes and she sees the boy standing in the same position, like this, right? What will the mother say?
She will feel bad, sir, Prabhuji.
Feeling is a different story. She'll feel bad, etc. What will she say to the boy?
It is very obedient.
He is very obedient. Okay. Anything else? What will she say to the boy?
Prabhuji, can you repeat your question, please?
My question is, if the child is still standing in that corner after 2 hours, mother scolded him, told him stand in that corner with finger on her lips. Right? After 2 hours, or maybe after 4 hours, she comes back and she sees in the room the boy standing in the same corner with the finger on his lips.
She will say,
Obedient and listening to his mother.
don't repeat the mistake and say sorry and all that.
अच्छा, 4 घंटे के बाद भी sorry. Okay.
At least apologize so that he understands that he was wrong.
Okay, what if he apologized and you gave him the punishment?
So promise that you won't repeat again.
Okay.
I think she will love him back, and
Yeah,
I think that's
obviously love him back.
Is that what the mother wanted the child to stand 4 hours like that?
She wanted him to understand what he did was wrong.
He was not doing something wrong, but yeah, he was just creating chaos. He was shouting and it was like. So, what do you think the mother?
Introspection.
The mother wants him to introspect. Okay.
थोड़ा तो सोचेंगे ना कि why mom is shouting.
Pretty demanding mom.
बच्चे सोचेंगे भी नहीं तो कैसे समझेंगे? They have to think.
Okay.
Because I always tell my daughter that why do I shout? Why? Then she only answers because I misbehaved and I didn't do my homework and all. She only answers.
So what is the mother expecting after introspection?
Understanding.
Understanding what?
That that was wrong.
Okay, that was wrong. ठीक है. आगे क्या?
Realization of the mistake.
She realized the mistake or he realized the mistake. What next?
Prabhuji, what do you want to hear?
Prabhuji, there should be a discipline, so that the child must follow.
Okay, so if I was there, not the mother, it's father. If I was there, I would see the child 4 hours again like this. I said, what are you doing? Right? Go and do something positive instead of he was doing something negative, creating chaos. Right? तो उसको चुप करा दिया immediately. ठीक है? कुछ घंटे बाद गए वही खाली चुप बैठा है नहीं. He has to do something positive, like you said, homework and this and that, or maybe something positive. Right? He needs to engage in something positive. So merely renouncing all activities, right? Like the child, he renounced everything, standing quietly in that corner. Yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord cannot make one happy. So the child will be miserable standing 4 hours like that. He won't be happy, right? Neither will you be happy, right? But a thoughtful person engaged, yeah, you might be temporarily happy, so obedient, etc. But right, you will also think, somebody will think, a child's intelligence actually, Prabhupada used to say, a naughty child is actually very, very intelligent. And there are some shows also on Discovery, I saw one, I think. So they specifically told the children not to open this or not to, look at this. And there were some very obedient ones who were like closing their eyes and not looking. But then there were others who were like wanting to see what is there, right? And they concluded how intelligence is when, the naughty children are actually kind of more intelligent in one sense. So the mother will be happy if she understands that, okay, this child has realized that he doesn't need to do nonsense or create chaos, but he needs to engage in positive activity. Introspection, yes, okay, I did wrong, but why it was wrong? Maybe I should do something else, right? That is intelligence. So that'll make the child happy also. That'll make you also happy. कि अरे हाँ ठीक है अभी चलो पढ़ाई कर रहा है. अपने आप ही समझ गया, right? What to do. So, but a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So likewise in devotional service, somebody is just, or somebody trying to attain the supreme simply renounces, right? Doesn't engage in devotional service. He'll be miserable and he cannot achieve the Lord. But somebody who's engaged in devotional service can quickly attain the supreme personality of God without delay. So let's see what Prabhupada writes in the purport. There are two classes of sannyasis or persons in the renounced order of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in study of Sanki philosophy Whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in study of Bhagavatam philosophy. So again, Sankhya philosophy here. So Vedanta Sutras, Sankhya, are trying to understand analytically how the material world works. So yeah, the Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in study of Sankhya philosophy, whereas Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the study of Bhagavatam philosophy, which affords the proper commentary on Vedanta Sutras. The Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta Sutra, but use their own commentary called Sharirika Bhashya, written by Shankaracharya. So there is this Mayavadi school. Mayavadi are people who think Maya is greater than the Lord. They won't say it, but when they talk their philosophy, it boils down to this: that okay, God came under Maya, influence of Maya, which means the Maya has to be bigger than God to, cover the Lord. Right? When God comes and incarnates, he's actually under the rules and regulations of Maya. That's what the Mayavadis think. Right? Bhagwan ne bhi sharir choda and all of that. Right? So that is the Mayavadi thought. Or we are all one, even I am God. Right? When I leave this body, I'm struggling right now because of Maya. I'm under the spell of Maya. When I leave this body, I will again become that same Brahman. Right? So which means he's thinking I am God, and God can come under the influence of Maya. So therefore, this philosophy is called as Mayavad, right? Which means that Maya is greater than God. Right? So this Mayavadi sannyasis, they also try to study Sankhya philosophy and Vedanta Sutra, but they don't study the actual commentaries, but they study Sharirika Bhashya, which is written by Shankaracharya. Who's Shankaracharya? Anyone? Who's Shankaracharya?
Shankara Bhagavad Adi Shankaracharya. Shankara
Yeah.
Bhagavad.
Who's he? We discussed about his history, right? We discussed who's Adi Shankaracharya.
I
Adi
think he
Shankaracharya is avatar
Was the
of
saint, right?
One by one, sorry. Yes, Subramaniam Prabhu.
Adi Shankaracharya is the incarnation of Lord Shiva, who was actually established Sanatana Dharma in this society.
Okay, yes. Adi Shankaracharya is incarnation of Lord Shiva. Yes, Sujata Mataji, he was a great saint, of course.
Yes, it is the same thing I was saying, incarnation of Lord.
Yes, yes. He is incarnation of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva, he's given the most difficult tasks. Right? He's known as Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu. He's one of the greatest Vaishnavas. And he actually is such a responsible personality. So he's doing the most difficult task. जो कोई नहीं कर सकता भगवान शिव के पास पहुंच जाता है ये सब कर लो. Right, when the milk ocean churning was there, right, poison came out, nobody was knowing what to do. Lord Shiva drank it, right, and held it in his throat, and he always chants the holy names of Ram, right, or the holy names of Krishna. So the poison is ineffective, right? The poison got liberated because of Lord Shiva's chanting. So his cunt is blue, not because of the poison, but he's remembering Krishna. So he's chanting the names of Krishna, so it's blue. Because Krishna is blue, right? So the poison cannot do anything to him. So he took the poison, and even when so I think I described this, but I kind of spent 5 minutes to describe this again. So the demons, they were actually creating havoc, and the demigods were unable to kill them because I think this was during Sanjeevani or some other time, right? So the demigods were unable to kill. They would die, and they will come back again to life like that. So they all approached Lord Vishnu, what to do? These demons are not dying only, right? So the Lord said, okay, fine, I'll send my Sudarshan. Sudarshan went and could not do anything because he said, "Arey, Prabhu, these all these demons, they are wearing, tilak. I forgot what this Urdhva Pundrak tilak, right? This tilak is called as Urdhva Pundrak. It's a representation of Radha and Krishna and Tulasi at the bottom. So how can I kill them? So all these demons, they typically worship Lord Shiva, right? And Lord Shiva's ganas, right? Shiva ganas, they're all ghosts and hobgoblins and kinnaras and all these personalities. So he's taken the task of uplifting the most fallen, the most जो किसी को जो देखना भी नहीं चाहेगा ना उनको वैसे लोगों को he is trying to uplift, and they are the Shiv ganas, right? So very difficult task he's taking. So Lord Vishnu, he went to Lord Shiva. He said, there's a problem. All the people you're trying to help, they're also creating a lot of chaos in the heavens. So they're not dying, and the demigods are trying to kill you. Even the Sudarshan returned because of this tilak. So they're all your followers. They will follow whatever you do. So we have to change the fashion now. So instead of the Uda Pundrak, you change this fashion and apply this three tilak like this. Right? I forgot what this is called, but and Lord Shiva, he then made an assembly where all these people were there, and he declared that put this tilak and you'll be victorious, you'll be successful in the Sangha. So they all changed from Urva Kundak to this, and then Sudarshan could easily kill. Right? So like that, Lord Shiva is given the most difficult tasks, and he is actually in charge of mode of ignorance. Right? So Brahmaji is in charge of mode of passion, 3 modes of material nature. Brahmaji is in charge of mode of passion. Lord Vishnu is in charge of mode of goodness. Lord Shiva is in charge of mode of ignorance. So creation, maintenance, and destruction. So here also, right? I think I gave the background earlier also. So Lord Buddha came. There was a lot of killing in the name of Vedas. So he kind of denied the Vedas altogether, like ahimsa paro dharmo, and he denied the Vedas. And Shankaracharya came to re-establish the Vedas, but then he gave covered atheism. So Lord Buddha actually gave atheism. There's no God, there's no scriptures, etc., and you have to just meditate and nirvana and all of that. But then Shankaracharya gave covered atheism. He said, as good as, oh, you are God, right? They want to become God, so you are God, right? Like that. He gave this Mayavad philosophy. But he did the work of re-establishing the authority of the Vedas. So from Vedas only he started quoting and twisted the meaning with his Sharirika Bhashya or commentary, and gave the meanings that, oh, you are God and you can become God. You are just experiencing, you are Narayan. You are experiencing, right now because you're covered by Maya, you're suffering. But once you are out of this shell, they have this philosophy of, air inside the, earthen pod. You break the earthen pod, air becomes, one with the air outside. That is the examples, the kind of examples they give. So that's the Sharirika Bhashya commentary which Shankaracharya wrote.
Prabhuji, that was the Advaita policy, Advaitam.
Yes, Advaita, correct. So Sharirika Bhashya is basically a philosophy that we are same as the Lord. We are the Lord rather, right? So he was specifically sent by the Lord he was tasked with bewildering the atheist. He established the Vedas, but bewildered the atheist. So the atheists were bewildered with this philosophy where they still kind of somewhere accepted the authority of the Vedas. But again, the core philosophy was still atheism or covered atheism in the form of, oh, I am God actually. And I'm just having this material experience because right now I'm covered by Maya. Right? That is the core philosophy in the Sharirika Bhashya. And this was specifically given to Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya being great devotee is Lord Shiva himself. Right? In the end, he could not control. He said, Bhaja Govindam, Murmate, so many other things. In fact, there's an entire pastime where his mother was about to pass away. And, she said, you tell me about one whom you meditate on, right? Or the, devotion that you do. So he started, speaking, and he spoke some bits of Mayavad because his students are there. So mother said, no. Tell me whom you really worship, right? So he actually sent out his students, and then he actually described to his mother the pastimes of the Lord. And he could not do that in front of his disciples because he was tasked by Lord Vishnu particularly, or Krishna particularly, to do this. So that's the Sharirika Bhashya written by Shankaracharya. The students of Bhagavata school are engaged in devotional service of the Lord according to Pancharatrika regulations. And therefore, the Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagements in transcendental service of the Lord. Right? Vaishnava sannyasis are always engaged because they are following the Pancharatrika Vidhi. So the called Narada Pancharatra, right? And Pancharatrika Vidhi basically, describes how to worship the Lord in different ways, how to serve the Lord. The Vaishnava sannyasis have nothing to do with material activities, and yet they perform various activities in devotional service to the Lord. But the Mayavadi sannyasis engaged in the studies of Sankhya and Vedanta and speculation cannot relish the transcendental service of the Lord because their studies become very tedious. So all they do is try to study Sankhya, right, and discuss on Vedanta. That's it, right? And it's very, very philosophical, right? There are aphorisms, and they try to, talk about it, right? Just like I don't know, I am not even able to give an example. Rose, you can give an example. It's very, a very dry philosophy at the end of the day, right? Oh, we are not this body, and I don't know what else, because I've not heard so much of that philosophy. But yeah, there could be the philosophy is essentially very, very dry. If we give a class with only philosophy, without any stories, without any examples, right, becomes a little dry. Even our sessions become very dry. It's only just philosophy. After 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the mind will switch off. Okay. But when there are stories, there are examples, right? There are songs, and when you practically apply this in your day-to-day life, you are able to apply something that has been spoken, even if it's philosophy. But if you're able to apply that in your day-to-day life, then becomes so much more meaningful versus just discussion, right? Simple discussion. So Sankhya philosophy studies can be very, very dry, and they are based on speculation. So they cannot relish the transcendental service of the Lord because the study becomes very tedious. They sometimes become tired of Brahman speculation. Oh, Brahman is like this, Brahman must be like this, right? Speculating must be like this, must be like this. And thus, they take shelter of Bhagavatam without proper understanding. So we see a lot of these Mayavadi sannyasis also, sometimes they come back to reading Bhagavatam, and they will also hold lectures and talk about Bhagavatam, but they don't have the proper understanding. They are still seeing Bhagavatam from the wrong angle of vision, that okay, actually, they think that Lord has no form, Krishna is a temporary form. They think like that, right? So therefore, Bhagavatam won't bear the fruit if they have this kind of understanding. Even Bhagavad Gita, for example, Prabhupada writes in the beginning, one has to at least theoretically accept that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then only one can hope to understand Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, there is no point, right? So consequently, their study of Srimad Bhagavatam becomes troublesome. Dry speculation and impersonal interpretations by artificial means are all useless for Mayavad sannyas. So they are all trying to speculate. They're trying to give their own interpretations. You have to surrender to the Supreme within Krishna, and so many other things they talk about, right? So all this are useless, and ultimately they are frustrated. The Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotional service are happy in discharge of their transcendental duties, and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance into the kingdom of God. So imagine this now. You are actually entering a school, okay, and or maybe a college, and the professors, they say, instead of they teach you, okay, say for example physics. So the motion of the electrons, they revolve around the nucleus, the protons, etc. Instead of saying this, they will say, oh, the actually electrons, they maybe they move around in the air, or maybe they might be needing some conductor, And I don't know how, maybe that's how electricity is generated. Maybe because there is lightning, sometimes there is electricity. Maybe the powerhouse, there are certain conditions in the air that is actually conducive for, creating, producing electricity. So if the education is based on a lot of maybes and speculation versus a clear cut knowledge that yes, the electrons are constantly revolving around the nucleus, and when there is there are two poles, one in one side there is some reduction, so that there is a flow of electrons from one end to the other, and that's how electricity is created, right? Clear cut knowledge versus speculation. And how hopeful you will be to get a job after that speculative education, right? You'll be frustrated, you won't even know where you're going, right? It's all maybes, perhaps, all of those, right? Versus a clear understanding of this is the knowledge, this is how you apply the knowledge, not just theoretical. You actually have practical lab applications or mechanical applications. You create something out of it. You create a project at the end of your college year. You actually show it, you win an award for it, and you have job offers on table on one end. On the other end, the knowledge is all in the air, maybe perhaps like this, maybe like that, right? And everyone is giving their own interpretation. The students also say, no, professor, maybe this is like this. Someone else will say, no, this is like this, right? That's what is going on in the Mayavad school, right? They have speculative understanding, and therefore sometimes they may even catch on to the right book, but then they will still continue to speculate. They'll still continue to speculate. Maybe this means this. They won't go by the book as it is. So sometimes these people also, they catch on to Srimad Bhagavatam, but then it doesn't bear the fruit because they're still speculating them. They're interpreting from a lens that God is impersonal, from a lens that I am also God, right? So the Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotional service are happy in discharge of their transcendental duties because they have clarity, right? They know where this will lead. They know the entire roadmap, step by step, right? They can check, am I progressing or not? Right? So they're happy in discharge of their transcendental duties, and they have a guarantee of ultimate entrance into the kingdom of God. The Mayavad sannyasis sometimes fall down to the path of sometimes fall down from the path of self-realization and again enter into material activities of a philanthropic and altruistic nature, which are nothing but material engagements. Therefore, the conclusion is that those who are engaged in Krishna conscious activities are better situated than sannyasis engaged in simple speculation about what is Brahman and what is not Brahman. Although they are two, so they will say, is this Brahman? This is not Brahman. This is Brahman. This is not Brahman. Their life goes in this. Although they too come into Krishna consciousness after many births. Because if they're sincerely desiring to understand the absolute truth, they might come to Krishna consciousness after many, many births. Rosie, you want to add something?
No, Guruji, I think you covered very detailed.
Any thoughts, anyone, any questions? Very important thing to understand. And the entire world, right? 99% or 95% is Mayavad. Right? The understanding is Mayavad, so prevalent, right? They may know, they may not know. Unknowingly also, they are following Mayavad philosophy. Everything is one, right? It has its root in Advaita philosophy, yes. But then it also gets into speculation. And, Advaita philosophy means I am also God. I am one with God, I am God. It's very dangerous, right? There are so many books, so many theories in philosophy. They're all based on this. All the scientists, they don't believe in God, right? Either they are atheists or they are Mayavad. Some rare scientists are, or the older ones rather, were actually good. They were, believers of God, or they were Gyanis, actual Gyanis. Einstein, Newton, all of these. So the greats were actually intelligent and they were not falling for the trap of Mayavad or atheism. Shunyavad is nothing, theory of nothing, right? The Buddhist, there's nothing. Okay, any doubts, thoughts, questions? Should we move ahead? Okay, I think let's move ahead. Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma.
Yoga-yukta vishuddhatma.
Jitatma Jitendriyaha.
Jitatma Jitendriya.
Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. Gurvan Apina Lipyate.
Purvanapi na lipyate.
Okay, someone would like to read the translation?
May I, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
One who works in devotion, who is the pure soul and who controls his mind and sense, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled.
So, Krishna is now describing one who actually works in devotion. So he described earlier the sixth one which he just read, that just by somebody who's just renouncing, he is not going to be satisfied himself, and he won't be achieving the ultimate end very easily. And but one who's fully engaged, he without delay here attains the supreme, right? And one who works in devotion, right? This is karma yoga, work in devotion, right? Action in Krishna consciousness. One who works in devotion, who is pure soul, who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Again, this is the description of Nishkam Karma Yoga, and particularly action in Krishna consciousness. It's not even, it's almost bordering, Bhakti Yoga. It's actually Karma Mishra Bhakti. Actually, Bhakti only, but Karma Mishra. Right? So, one who works in devotion, whose pure soul, who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone. So such a person becomes dear because what he's trying to do is trying to water the roots. So everyone is naturally, all the leaves are naturally satisfied. So everyone in general is satisfied with him and he's dear to everyone. Right? So though he is always working, such a man is never entangled. So because he's working in devotion, right, whatever results he's getting, he's directly engaging in devotion service also, plus he has to maintain his body. So he's also working in devotion, doing his work in devotion. So he's not entangled because he's offering the results, or he's also doing it with the consciousness that this work is for this pleasure of the Supreme. So like that, he is not entangled. One who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him. This is due to his Krishna consciousness. Such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of trees are not separate from the tree. He knows very well that by pouring water on the roots of the tree, the water will be distributed to all leaves and branches. Or by supplying food to stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all, he is very dear to everyone. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna. Nor there is a chance that he will engage his senses in a matter other than service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics relating to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. He does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. So, very nice description. Like I already gave the example of watering the roots, right? So he cannot think of any living being separate from Krishna, which means he sees everyone in relationship to Krishna. So it's also one of the definitions of pure devotee, actually. So pure devotee in the current day and age, when or even earlier actually. So he's just working to maintain his body, and whatever work he does, he offers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he also actively engages in devotional service. So that is Krishna consciousness, where we are trying. Every action is done as an offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. He doesn't want to hear anything except Krishna. Which means that even if he has to hear something related to his work, which may not be directly in connection with Krishna, he does it, to the bare minimum, whatever is needed, nothing beyond that. And wherever he goes, if Krishna is not involved, he doesn't like to go to those places, right? So that is the definition of actually a pure devotee being described here. So his senses are controlled because they are constantly engaged. Mind is always engaged in the lotus feet of Krishna. And he's not deviated from the path. Right? A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. So, very, very powerful statement. Right? A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. So, one of the biggest impediments on the path of devotional service is offenses. Especially offense committed to another Vaishnava. It's like the mad elephant offense. So, this bhakti is described as a creeper, and Shravana Kirtan, hearing and chanting, is described as watering that small, plant, which is seed. Seed of devotion is there. It's given by Guru, and then you have to water and nourish it with hearing and chanting and association with devotee. So then it sprouts a little bit and starts growing like that. And ultimately, it has to grow so tall that from the material world, it has to go, above and pierce the coverings of the universe, enter into the spiritual world, and wrap around the lotus feet of Krishna. That will, when it grows so tall, right? Imagine when it grows so tall, that is when you are going back to earth. So this bhakti lata is right now, not even sprouted or very small in the beginning stages. And, we have to protect, just like a gardener. It pulls out the weeds around, whatever plant he is trying to grow. So he has to pull out the weeds also. He has to nourish it regularly. And he has to save it from external attacks of rodents and pests, etc. Right? So these pests and rodents, they are as offenses, or even these creepers, they're unwanted things in the heart which has to be pulled out, uprooted. Right? So offense to another Vaishnava, specifically someone who's preaching the message of Krishna consciousness. Somebody commits an offense, right? Either through mind, body, or words. Then offense is created to such a Vaishnava. It's considered as a mad elephant offense. Right? What is mad elephant offense? Vaishnava aparad is known as mad elephant offense. So imagine you're, making a nice, beautiful garden, and you're growing this bhakti lata, right? And you're also, basically you're maintaining the garden very well and trying to grow this bhakti lata. So you've been very careful. It's grown a little bit, and it's grown a little tall, etc. Suddenly, there is an elephant which is completely mad, enters the garden. What will happen to the garden?
It will destroy the garden.
In no time, the creepers will be destroyed. The whole garden will be completely destroyed. Right? And in such a bad state also, it will be like completely upside down, right? So this is that is the mad elephant offense. That is what Vaishnava aparad can do to us. So one has to guard very, very carefully not to commit Vaishnava aparad. And in general, other aparad, there are seva aparad, there is dham aparad, there are so many other offenses. So offense is our enemy, right? And how we can save ourselves from offenses, Right? A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. Therefore, there is so much stress on control of senses. Right? Now, one may say, "Arey, we are suffering because of uncontrolled senses, yes, and we are not pure devotees yet. हमने तो अब तक control नहीं किया, so which means we'll be committing offense, which means there is no hope for us, etc., etc." No. So this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, association of devotees, and reading of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, all of this will help you control your senses. Right? Will help you control the mind, will help you control the senses. And the more and more you control the senses and more you learn, till the time you don't know, right? Somebody outsider who doesn't know who's a devotee, what is a Vaishnava, or who doesn't know any of this philosophy, right? Or doesn't know about Krishna, right? He may also commit, he may also sometimes say something bad or something like that. But he is doing papa. He is doing sin. So the difference between pap and aparad. Right? Pap means unknowingly. Unknowingly, I do something. Unknowingly, I don't even know who the person is, but I committed a mistake or I committed some offense. So that is not really considered as aparad. Aparad means knowingly, understanding very well, or having full knowledge that, this person is a Vaishnava, I'm still saying something wrong about him. Still, trying to harm the person or, may put the person in trouble like that. So that is offense, aparad. So when you come to Krishna consciousness, when you have all this understanding, right, there's a lot of benefit, but then there is, a little drawback also, that whatever from now we do is not pap, is aparad. Right? It's not pap, it's aparad. Right? We know I should not eat without offering to Krishna. Otherwise, Krishna says you are verily eating sin. Right? So that is offense. Or I know that I should not do something which is mentioned as prohibited. Right? I should not maybe eat meat, for example. I'm sure you guys are not, but I'm just giving an example. So even after understanding scriptures, somebody continues to eat meat, for example, right? Continues to do offenses. That's a problem. So one may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in battle to others? Very important question, right? Arjuna also killed Bhishma Dev, who was a great devotee of the Lord. Is that Vaishnava aparad? Right? So why then was Arjuna offensive in the battle? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness? Arjuna was only superficially offensive because, as has already been explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons on the battlefield would continue to live individually, as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only their dresses were changed by, this is very important, by the order of Krishna, who was personally present. So Krishna ordered to kill Bhishma Dev, right? And it was arranged that Bhishma Dev was fighting so fiercely, and Arjuna would not have been saved had not Krishna picked up that wheel. And when he picked up the wheel, Bhishma Dev, he left all the arms and he said, "Fine, I'm willing." And he was happy that Krishna broke his promise. And then Krishna said, "Arjuna, now pierce his body." So it was on order of Krishna. That is pastime, that is Leela, right? And not that Bhishma Dev was grudging, "Arey, mere ko sare teen maar diye," right? He was also not committing offense towards Pandavas. He knew it's order of Krishna. In fact, he was actually consoling Yudhishthir Maharaj. He gave instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj, on that arrow bed. Right? So therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the actions of life. Okay. Any questions, thoughts? Or Prabhuji, you want to add something here?
Prabhuji, Saurav here.
Yes, sir. Please.
As we were talking about the offenses, so I just want to understand what are the offenses that one must aware while doing japa.
So there are 10 offenses to the holy names of the Lord. The first one, and one must really guard against these 10 offenses. So the first one is to blaspheme the devotees, right? Who are spreading this Krishna consciousness, right? Blaspheme the devotees who are engaged in spreading the holy name of the Lord. Right? The second offense is to consider the names of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, etc., all the other demigods to be equal to or independent of the holy names of Lord Vishnu. Third is to disobey the orders of spiritual master. Right? Fourth one is to blaspheme the Vedic literature. Blaspheme means to say ill against, right? So to say ill against the Vaishnavas or to say ill against the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version, which means anything which is kind of a derivation from the Vedas or Vedic literature. So to blaspheme that is also not good. Then to give some mundane interpretation to the holy names of the Lord, or to consider glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imaginative. Yeah, इससे कुछ नहीं होता है, right? Chanting से कुछ नहीं होता है. And then to give some mundane interpretations to the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna means something else, or maybe it means something else. Like not taking the authentic meaning given by the acharyas. Then to actually commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. I can commit this mistake, no problem. This sin is okay. Chanting kar lunga, ho jayega, I'll cover up, no problem. I won't be affected. This mentality of committing sin on the strength of the holy name is it's a bigger problem. Aparad, right? Very offensive. Right? And then to instruct a faithless person, to consider chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities mentioned in the Vedas as karma kanda or fruitive activities. Right? So thinking that Hare Krishna is equivalent to yagya kar liya na ghar pe, Hare Krishna chant karne ki kya zarurat? Or Om Ganeshaya Nama or something I chant, and that is okay. I was chanting Hare Krishna and this is also fine. It's all the same. It's all one and the same. To think like that is also an offense to the holy name. Right? Or think of any other ritualistic. Maine daan diya na, I'm giving. It's okay. I don't chant, but instead I'm giving this donation. No, chanting is a yuga dharma. Chanting is manifestation of Krishna directly on your tongue. It's not equivalent to giving some charity. You give charity for your millions and trillions of lifetimes, it won't be equal to chanting one holy name of Krishna. Okay. And then to instruct a faithless person, somebody who doesn't have faith at all, and you instruct, you can tell them to chant Hare Krishna, but to instruct, no, Harinam is like this, Harinam is Krishna's manifestation himself. Harinam means, or even to tell the meaning of Harinam, that actually Hare Krishna Mahamantra means, energy of the Lord, please engage in service of Krishna. So somebody who's completely faithless, right? If you instruct him, he'll mock it, he'll commit more offenses, and you'll also get offense, right? And last one is to maintain material attachment, right? Even after hearing so many instructions on the matter, right? So some material attachment, we understand is not good for a spiritual life. Still, I'm maintaining that material attachment. I understand it intelligently that yes, intellectually I understand this is not good. But it's not that I'm not making any efforts to give it up. Right? There are two positions. One is I'm attached, but I'm seriously, sincerely wanting to give it that attachment up. That is sincerity. I may be helpless. I may not be able to give it up right now, but I sincerely desire to give it up. Right? Like Prabhupada mentioned, I don't know, I guess it was someone, Prabhupada mentioned to a drunkard that even while you drink, you remember Krishna. Right? And pray to Krishna that I want to give it up. Right? So that sincere desire, along with chanting, right, will help you to easily detach. So one who's chanting the holy name, but he is maintaining that particular attachment. पाल के रखा है, right? नहीं हम तो नहीं सुधरेंगे, पाल के रखा है वो आदत को.
Yeah.
Right? That is an offense. To maintain material attachment and also be inattentive while chanting. So while chanting, I'm doing 10 other things, and it's inattention.
Okay.
So these are the 10 offenses one must guard against sinful unions. Thank you for that question, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Parthapriya Prabhu, you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just thinking, Priji, when we are reading this verse, the example of the 6 Goswamis, like it says, the Shat Goswami Ashtakam, Dhira Dhira Jana Priya Priya Karo. So the 6 Goswamis, they were dear to everyone. Dhira and Adhira both. The people who were sober and at the same time people who were ruffians, even they were dear. Even the Goswamis are dear to them also. So when devotees actually, like Prabhupada said in the purport, is able to control his senses, he actually becomes very dear to everyone. Because everyone is pleased with such a personality, who has controlled senses, controlled mind, and who's pure in his consciousness. And similarly, we see the example of Yudhishthir Maharaj also, who also did not have any enemies. He was also a very great devotee, exalted devotee. And he never considered Dhritarashtra to be his enemy. Although, there were so many attempts at the lives of the Pandavas. Yudhishthira Maharaj, after having won the battle, still he did not mistreat Dhritarashtra.
He was actually serving Dhritarashtra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just these examples are coming to mind when you were reading this.
Yeah, I think even I remembered the Goswamis when I kind of read, how we are dear to everyone. So thank you for reminding. So, okay. Time is limited. We'll move ahead. Any other thoughts, anyone? Any questions or comments in the previous one?
I have a question here, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Being in Krishna consciousness, one can control his mind and take a thoughtful action. But
it's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. Yes.
Okay. But the basic nature of a human being doesn't change. Suppose take an example of women. They are soft-hearted and they always think emotionally. I would not say they are not intelligent, but their decisions are emotionally based. So how to how to overcome this, I would say.
So you don't have to overcome it. You have to use your nature in service of the Lord. Right? We are not saying give up your again. So the nature of the soul is Satchit Anand. That is our actual real nature. Right? Now that is the original nature, and we have acquired nature because of the acquired body or the such circumstance and situations that we are in. That acquired nature, also there is one is the core acquired nature, the other are the peripherals, or some other manifestations. So while your core acquired nature, like for a human body to be emotional, is the core nature of that particular form of being. So that is okay, and you can utilize that core nature in service of the Lord. So you can use that emotions and serve the Lord, right, as your own child. In fact, ladies, they are in a much better position because they are simple-hearted and they're emotional, so they can cultivate these emotions for the Lord very easily. It might become a little difficult for men, right? Therefore, you see, our classes, the percentage, it's 80-20. Not even 80-20, 90-10 maybe, right? Because they're more spiritually inclined, etc. like that. So you utilize this nature in service of the Lord, right? Have that loving exchange and emotions for the Lord. And also, if you feel emotional or if you feel mercy for others, distribute Lord's prasad, distribute Lord's books, etc. So a person who's in Krishna consciousness, right? They are very intelligent. The ladies are very intelligent, right? Because they have an understanding of what needs to be done. While they may feel so much emotion, but they also have an understanding what needs to be done. They may feel very emotional about somebody suffering. Sure, that's a very good thing. Many are struggling to have that emotion, right? And you are also equipped with an information how you can help. You can help, by providing some prasadam. You can help by, offering the person some knowledge also, or connecting them to, some sessions like these, or like that, or asking the person to chant. So use your nature to serve the Lord, and you are in a very advantageous position. You have that nature also. You are part of your kitchen. You can actually control the whole house through that kitchen, because whatever one eats, that is the consciousness they develop. So you are in a position of power, Shakti, right? So yeah. I don't know if I answered you, but if there is anything specific, you can connect later as well. But I think generic answer is this, that you should utilize, whatever.
That's a good answer, Prabhuji.
Okay, let's read this, and this is the last piece for today. Naiva kinchit karomiti.
Naiva kinchit karomiti.
Yukta manyeta tatvavit.
Yukta manyeta tatvavit.
Pashyan shrinvan spirshan jigran.
Pashyan shrinvan spirshan jigran.
Ashnan gachan sapan shwasan. Pralapan visrajan grinan.
Pralapan visrajan grinan.
Unmisan nimisan napi. Indriyani indriyartheshu. Vartanta iti dharayan.
Vartanta iti dharayan.
Okay, someone can read the Subramaniam Prabhu, can you read the translation?
A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them.
Yes, very interesting. A person in divine consciousness, one who understands, he although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving, about sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. How's that? You're doing everything, but you're not doing anything. Somebody who's in knowledge can see that he's not doing anything. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening, or closing his eyes, he always knows that only material senses are engaged with their objects and that he's aloof from them. So this is basically realization of soul, right? That I'm the spirit soul separate from this material body, not that I am the body, like that. So this is realization, not just information, but actual realization. A person in Krishna consciousness is pure in his existence. Consequently, he has nothing to do with any work which depends upon the 5 immediate and remote causes. The doer, the work, the situation, the endeavor, and fortune. These are the 5 immediate causes. Right? And this is because he is engaged in loving transcendental service of Krishna. So he knows he has nothing to do with any of these, because he's engaged in loving service of Krishna. Although he appears to be acting with his body and senses, he's always conscious of his actual position. Right? He's acting with his body, but he knows his position, that he is not this body, that the soul has nothing to do with these 5 senses, which is spiritual engagement. So actual position is spiritual engagement. You're always conscious of actual position, which is spiritual engagement. In the material consciousness, the senses are engaged in sense gratification. But in Krishna consciousness, the senses are engaged in satisfaction of Krishna's senses. Therefore, Krishna conscious person is always free even though he appears to engage in affairs of the senses. Right? So, a person in Krishna consciousness, he knows that he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord, right? And not his own senses. Therefore, Krishna conscious person is always free, even though he appears to be engaged in affairs of the senses. Activities such as seeing, hearing are actions of the senses meant for receiving knowledge, whereas moving, speaking, evacuating are actions of the senses meant for work. So there are knowledge acquiring senses, right? Your eyes, ears, nose, etc. These are knowledge acquiring senses. And then there are action oriented senses or working senses, right? Which is your hands and legs, like that. So Krishna conscious person is never affected by actions of senses. He cannot perform any act except in service of the Lord, because he knows that he is the eternal servant of the Lord. So again, this is Brahma Bhuta stage where somebody is understanding that he is not this body, the soul. He can see the difference. He can see as a third person that, my senses are engaged with their sense objects. He literally can, take a step back, be aloof and can watch, the senses interacting with the sense objects, etc. And he has full understanding that he is a servant of the Lord. So therefore, he can engage the senses in service of the Lord. And therefore, he is not entangled. Rosie, you want to add something here?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, it's 12:33. We'll stop here. Should we do the 10th one? So we finish 5. If you have
Recitation also.
we have recitation also. Okay, we'll stop here. And any questions, any comments or reflections? Anything that you liked about today's class, which is stuck with in your head and you're taking back? Anything you liked about the class? Any points? Or any questions? Is there everyone there, or am I the only one here?
slowly we are moving into what we should do, karma yoga, how we should be doing. We're slowly entering into that, deeply, slowly into that.
Yes. So karma yoga. In fact, we are ending the karma yoga section, but yes, the clarity of what we need to do is, coming more and more. So how we can engage our senses in service of the Lord. That's bhakti yoga in one sense, and karma yoga at the same time. Karma yoga here, that chapter itself is titled Actions in Krishna Consciousness. Okay. Anyone else? Any other points or any questions you have? Any point you like?
Yeah, Prabhuji, can you stress more on the last shloka? Person who is in Krishna consciousness is liked by everyone because he takes action consciously, like that. Yeah. His thoughts. Yeah.
Let me see if I can think of one more example. Okay. There are several examples, but I'm not able to kind of put that in the right words, maybe, or to kind of explain with a personality, maybe. Prabhuji, if you have some thoughts in mind, you can please, describe. But the idea is that a person in Krishna consciousness, is very attractive. And therefore he's also pleasing to everyone. Therefore, he's also dear to everyone. Who would like to see a sad face? Who would like to see somebody morose, crying, or sobbing, or angry? Right? One of the features of devotees anywhere in the world, right? They're very bright faced, they're very happy. I think the example, yes, I gave this example earlier. There was this brahmachari, Badri Narayan Maharaj had taken him to the welfare office to get his insurance. And it was a government-run office in LA. And you had to declare your holdings or wealth. So everyone was filling forms. The devotee was also in the line. And when he submitted his form, so before that, I mean, this lady, he saw the lady is inside, and the lady would not even look up. She would just, receive the form through a hole in the window, and she would receive and she would just look at the form, quickly do her things, pass it on, and the next person. She would not even look up. And when this devotee submitted his form, so she looked at it and suddenly she was stunned. Like, people had declared earlier, their bonds, their investments, their property holdings, their money in the bank, their insurance, other insurance policies, and this and that. So many things, and this person had practically nothing, zero. And she looked at him, and here's one very bright-faced brahmachari, smiling, shining, right? How is this possible? You have nothing. How can you be so happy, right? So that's a typical feature of somebody who's actually genuinely practicing Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada, was once asked by devotees in Australia, that devotees are suffering, or when devotees are morose, etc. So Prabhupada said, morose, unhappy. Then they are rascals. They're not devotees, right? Devotee means naturally he's happy. Brahma Bhota Prasannatma, right? Devotee means he's happy. Why? Because this practice of Krishna consciousness, when you come in contact with Krishna, right, how can you not be happy? So, which means that you're not practicing it correctly. Prabhupada called them rascals. Heavy statement, but yeah, Prabhupada said it. You're rascals, right? If you're not happy in Krishna consciousness, then you're rascal. Right? Which means that you're not following the process correctly. So, and we need to check back. Are we doing the bhajan kriya properly? Are we doing sadhu sang correctly? Right? Are we hearing correctly? Right? Or are we hearing enough? Or when I'm hearing, am I focused on what the person is saying, or trying to meditate on what is being said, or am I in my own world, or am I doing 5 other things while trying to listen physically? So it's not just the externals. One has to be, present with mind and body both, not just with body, but that the mind is somewhere else. Or when I'm chanting, am I chanting, consciously, or am I putting effort in trying to avoid offenses or chant attentively, etc. So if one is not experiencing that happiness, one needs to check, where am I going wrong? The process works 100%. There are people who are following the process since years, since ages. There are many examples in past. There are present examples also. People who are doing it correct, and they are getting the results. It's a science, right? You have to perform the action and you'll get the result. Right? If I'm not getting the result, then I need to check, am I doing the experiment wrong? Or am I performing the steps correctly, right? That's what we need to check. So devotee, naturally, just by looking at a devotee, you feel happy, naturally happy. Why? Because, they are happy in connection to the Lord. Seeing a happy face who's not happy, right? You automatically, feel pleasant. And in fact, one of the angas of devotional service is even to look at a devotee, even to touch, a devotee. That is also devotional service, because by dint of performing devotional service, they become transcendental. Right? So when you come in touch with something transcendental, you also naturally feel happiness. You are naturally satisfied, and that person becomes pleasing to everyone. Somebody, just imagine, if you today decide that, yes, I want to practice devotional service very seriously. You offer prasad nicely. You offer it to people, not just to your own family members, but even, say, for example, to the watchman in your building. You suddenly become very dear to the watchman, right? And people seeing you, in Vaishnava attire with tilak, right? Naturally they'll be respect. They'll be reminded of Krishna, when you go out with the tilak on your forehead. So like that, a devotee becomes very, very dear and pleasing to everyone. I mean, these are some thoughts I could gather. Prabhuji, you want to add something?
So devotee is also like free of any vices, envy, pride, and because he's free from all of these things, he's generally becomes very attractive to anyone. Because just imagine we are living in a world today where everyone around us is filled with pride, arrogance, envy, and whatnot, and we can just see it on the faces of people. Sometimes that they're filled with such things. So when you see that in the ocean of such people, you have like one person who is free from all of this. Sometimes people even cannot believe that how can a person, a devotee, be so good. I've literally heard people say this to me. That they're very skeptical about how is that devotees are so good in their dealings with people, in about how much they care. So why is because we are living in an age where practically everyone is, it's like a competitive world. Everyone wants to be up there, trying to defeat others, climbing the ladder of success by stepping on other people's head. So devotees are generally free of these impurities, and that also makes them very, very attractive. So the Vaishnav qualities that are there manifest. It reminds, like Prabhuji was saying, of the Lord, and the Lord is actually so sweet. He is also like full of ocean of qualities, and like Prabhuji was saying, because the devotees are in touch with the Lord, they also develop these qualities and they become very attractive. Some
So,
thoughts.
yeah. So I think thank you, Prabhuji, for adding that. So the qualities of devotees, they're like ornaments, right? Abhushan. So when one is decorated with ornaments, naturally, very everyone's eye goes there, right? Very attractive. Right? So these qualities of humility, for example, of tolerance, of obedience to the Lord, and just respect, simple culture of respect, right? Today, if you see, respect is almost gone. It's not there, right? But when you see in this, like Prabhuji was saying, ocean of faults, Kalau the ocean is here, Rajan, right? Ocean of faults. When you see somebody chanting and practicing that culture of respect, right? Even when I see, I feel like, wow, somebody, like in the morning in the Mangal Arati, if you go, there are so many devotees before starting to chant, they will offer obeisances to Prabhupada. They will offer obeisances to all the senior devotees one by one. I mean, I don't even remember offering, obeisance to my parents. Right? Pair chewing bahut pehle, but when you see this culture of respect, right? That this naturally is there in devotees, that they're offering obeisances, right? They're taking blessings. The person giving blessings also feels very nice, and the devotee also feels very nice. So when you are valued like this, right? Devotees, they value everyone. In fact, there's a statement by Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. He said that one should consider one should interact with the person as if their Krishna consciousness instead of life, he said, because Krishna consciousness is bigger than life, as if their life or Krishna consciousness depends on it. If that is the thought process while interacting with someone, right, how much more attention you will give to that person, and how nicely you will deal with that person, right? If with that mode, if you're dealing with somebody, why would the person not be attracted to you, or why would the person not appreciate you? Of course, we have to get there. At least for me, I have to get there. Right? Not there yet. So it's a process. Gradually, slowly and steadily, as you chant, as you associate, as you hear, and try to implement. Right? It should not just remain kiha sun liya. You should try and put that in practice. Your effort, you may not be capable of getting those qualities, but seeing your effort, Krishna will say, "Oh, this person is serious." Right? She wants to come to me, right? He will bless you with those qualities. And suddenly you will find out, I was trying to artificially practice or push myself, but suddenly now you're naturally able to practice it. and that has become part of your nature. So that's how we have to keep focus on doing devotional activities and cultivate the qualities of humility particularly, and other things. So work towards it. Not that just by your effort it will happen. Krishna's mercy, naturally you will develop those qualities. And when you're associated with people having those qualities, even that association itself will influence you to be pure in your habits, in your words, etc. Like that. Subramaniam Prabhu, you're trying to say something?
Yeah, in fact, we experienced this, myself and my wife, and we'd gone to ISKCON Juhu for collecting those Bhagavatam books,
Yes.
The way the devotees spoke to us, and an young boy from Thane who had repeatedly studied Bhagavad Gita, the way he helped us out, came out with the books were heavy. They helped us out, came outside and told us, wait, you can attend the Aarti and all. So that culture, that kind of quality we could see in the devotees who were there in Juhu. So naturally, as you said, when you keep chanting Krishna, get into Krishna consciousness, these qualities come there.
Yes. And one must understand that, like you're trying to cultivate, everyone else is also trying to cultivate, and there will be, instances where, we are shown a mirror, right? Krishna will put you in situations, and even he will put other devotees also in some situations that whatever is remaining inside will come out in a form of some outburst or something. So one should not be disturbed. Arey, devotee hoke mandir mein aisa behave karta hai. That thought might come, but one should understand it's a process, a gradual process, and Krishna is just removing these faults one after the other. For some people who are quote unquote, very cultured, etc., they may behave very politely, but in their mind something else is going on, or behind somebody's back they'll say things, right? But they may not even realize that they are having anarthas in their heart. For a devotee, chanting is like that stirring process. The lake is shant ho gaya, sab dust niche settle ho gaya, but dust pura bhara hua hai andar. To clean the lake, you have to start removing the dirt and dust. So there is a lot of agitation. So a lot of dust and dirt surfaces, which means that we are shown the mirror. Arey, I'm so bad, right? Itna ganda quality mere mein koi pata bhi nahi tha, right? So sometimes, we are in that stage, and one should not be discouraged. It's just a process. Things are coming up, they're surfacing, and we have to deal with it. We have to realize that yes, this is a problem. This is a deep-rooted problem there. How can I, I can probably increase my bhajan more and more, and take shelter, hold to Krishna's feet even tighter, so that I can get rid of this, and also, practically attempt to, behave in the opposite direction. Even if the mind is wanting to go in one direction, you beat the mind by going in exactly opposite direction. Of course, for negative things, not positive, right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll stop here. It's already 12:50. I think we'll take the next 10 minutes to chant the fourth chapter. We've done third, right? We did second last time.